His instructor is worried when a boy consistently arrives late for class and chooses to follow him home to check on him. But what she sees makes her cry because it hurts her heart. With her typical zeal, Miss Indigo, a committed and caring educator, started her first lesson of the day. But she was distracted when a boy she knew entered the room, making her frown and heart fall. Jordan was a student whose family resided a few miles away from the city. He was a decent enough child, but she had reason to be concerned about some recent problems. Over the course of the previous 6 months, Miss Indigo had seen that Jordan was habitually late and wore perspiration when he came at school. He worked hard and was obviously capable and willing to learn, but his grades had fallen and his academic performance had undoubtedly suffered. It was apparent that something was off, and the fact that he was roughly 30 minutes late each day was just intolerable. To exacerbate the situation, Jordan would occasionally nod off in class due to extreme tiredness and fatigue. He had been intelligent and vigilant until this abrupt shift in conduct. Miss Indigo became quite concerned about it and decided to do something about it. Miss Indigo took a risk one day because she wanted to aid Jordan. In an attempt to find out what was wrong, she made the decision to follow him home after school. She might be able to assist if she could identify the problem. When the school day came to a close with the ringing of the bell, Miss Indigo sneaked out and rushed to her car. The worried teacher would then follow Jordan's parents as she waited for them to pick him up, hoping to find any hints that might help explain the situation. But she was shocked when the boy started to walk by himself. Miss Indigo's thoughts were racing with uncertainty as she considered stepping in. She knew that his home was a few decent miles away, and it would be a hard voyage to make the visit fully on foot. But she was worried about Jordan, so she got out of the car and followed him covertly. It was obvious that something was wrong and worrisome, but she was unable to identify it. She followed the lad on his journey with annoyance in her footsteps. The journey through the city and towards the town where Jordan lived was long and arduous, especially with a storm threatening to set in. Despite the distance, it appeared as though Jordan knew the road like the back of his hand. Several hours passed and ultimately they reached Jordan's tiny apartment. Miss Indigo hid behind a tree a long way away. The house was worn out and in need of repair, just like Jordan. Through a filthy window, she could see his parents cooking a little lunch, and as the rain began to pour, many leaks caused the house's ceilings to begin to drip. Miss Indigo was shocked by what she saw. She had no clue that Jordan and his family lived this way. She thought they had a lovely home and a contented existence, but what she was witnessing appeared to be the complete reverse. Her eyes filled with tears at the depressing sight. Miss Indigo wiped away her tears, called a cab, and walked home quietly, her mind buzzing with ideas about how she could help, determined to fully comprehend the situation. Miss Indigo set up a meeting with Jordan's parents, Michael and Amy, for the next day. She wanted to assist, but she also didn't want to admit that she had followed their kid. She would have to carefully negotiate the troubling waters in this sensitive circumstance. Welcoming Michael and Amy into the school office, Miss Indigo sat down opposite them, once again battling to hold back tears. The room was filled with a mixture of optimism and dread as they arrived to the school, preparing for the unexpected conversation. Miss Indigo tackled the subject with compassion and empathy, expressing her worry for Jordan's welfare and her anxiety over his tardiness in grades. The parents' eyes filled with tears as they described the struggles their family had been going through for the last 12 months. They had lost their beau and their financial security when their automobile was repossessed to pay off outstanding debts. They had been compelled to relocate to a less expensive residence outside of the city as a result. Additionally, Jordan's extremely low resources made the 6-mile journey to school every day necessary. This supported Miss Indigo's concerns on Jordan's persistent tardiness and physical condition. He must have been exhausted and worn out all the time if he made that trip every single day. Miss Indigo, who was full of heart and resolve, promised Michael and Amy that she would do all in her power to help them. The parents apologized for the inconvenience and said they would try to get Jordan to leave for school even earlier than usual, since they were committed to assist him get there on time.
For them, education was crucial, and they wanted their son to have the greatest education possible to avoid future financial difficulties. Jordan would be much more exhausted during the day, so Miss Indigo realized that even if it was a modest step forward, it wouldn't help. There must be more that could be done. Miss Indigo was unable to sleep that night because she kept thinking about Jordan's tragic tale. Her thoughts kept returning to the painful conditions in his home and how Michael and Amy were fighting to make ends meet while still allowing their son to attend school and succeed. Something like that shouldn't have to happen to any family. Miss Indigo was tossing and turning in bed, wondering if there was something she could do to make things easier for the family. Then an optimistic thought came to her. She made the decision to get in touch with the nonprofit that aids needy families the very following morning. She informed them of Jordan's predicament and asked if they might assist in locating potential donors. Finally, after waiting for weeks, Miss Indigo's unselfish persistence paid off. An amazing transformation was brought about by an unexpected appearance of a good-hearted stranger who had been profoundly moved by Jordan's narrative. This kind donor went above and above by giving the family a vehicle in addition to setting up a bicycle for Jordan so that he could get to school more quickly and easily. In addition to making Michael and Amy's commute to work simpler, this extraordinary deed of compassion would greatly increase the family's financial security. It genuinely offered the whole family a more promising and happier future. Miss Indigo was so happy and grateful that she couldn't contain her enthusiasm when she told Jordan and his family the amazing news. When Michael and Amy realized they could finally put their lives back on track and get themselves back on their feet, they were overcome with emotion and started crying with both relief and genuine gratitude. The young family's life would be permanently changed by this modest gesture of empathy and compassion, and they would always be appreciative to Miss Indigo and the anonymous giver. They formed a strong, unbreakable tie that would entwine their lives for all time. Jordan's grades began to improve as the days went by, and he once again excelled academically. He no longer fell asleep in the middle of a lecture or showed up to school drenched in perspiration. He was as intelligent and focused now as ever. He began interacting with others again when his spark was rekindled in the classroom. He had changed from being the weary youngster who arrived late to a cool kid whose bike everyone admired. Knowing that she had left a lasting impression on Jordan's life as well as the lives of his family, Miss Indigo took great pleasure in the kid and celebrated his tenacity and will. This touching story is a potent reminder of the enormous influence empathy and compassion have on other people's lives. Not only did Miss Indigo's constant commitment help Jordan reach his full potential, but she also inspired hope in everyone who saw this incredible journey. It is now your turn to share your thoughts on this amazing tale. What would you have thought if you had learned about Jordan's appalling living circumstances? Would you have made the same effort as Miss Indigo to assist him and his family? As usual, we want to hear from you, so be sure to share your views and comments in the comment box down below.